Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we tackle the issues that affect the customer experience at your store, whether it's the front of the store, the back of the store, or somewhere in the middle. I'm very fortunate. I have a great network of connections and friends and colleagues that come on here almost every week to share with you what they do or what they've done to improve the customer experience at your store. Contrary to popular belief, the customer experience is not something new that we just dust off every once in a while and bring back. It was important 46 years ago. It was important last year, and it's important today and going forward. So, and this week is no exception. I've got Todd Smith with us today, and Todd is a guy you've probably seen some of his content on LinkedIn. I think of him as Mr. AI. He says he's not an expert, although having seen what he's put out there, it's pretty close to that as far as I'm concerned in my book. So welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you so much for having me today, Paul, and look forward to our conversation.
Well, you are more than welcome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background before we get started here, and then we'll jump right into it.
Sure. So 35-year automotive. Grew up around the business. Both my neighbors were car dealers. So I feel like, you never want to do what anyone in your family does. You want to do what the cool neighbors do when they have cool exotic cars, like a Lamborghini LL002 or Countach's. And I mean, the posters on my wall were in my neighbor's driveway. So I was around the cars from a young age and just fell in love with the business. Started selling cars in 1990. Worked my way up to run stores, ultimately had the opportunity to buy into a Chevrolet store and had that as well, and sold that in 2007. But I've also spent time on the technology side. So I feel like I've been on both sides of the house. I helped run one of the first, well, it was the first web-based CRM, Dealer Ups, which was founded in 2000. Came out of a project that the guys that I was working on at AutoNation, when AutoNation first wanted to go online, AutoNation Direct. So I kind of helped put that together for them. And just fell in love with the tech. Also then founded Active Engage after I sold my store, live chat. Exited that in 2018 and kind of just consulted and did other projects. And then I've always had a passion for technology and AI. And since probably about 2015, when Watson first came out, you maybe remember that. Watson was like this first thing. And I went out to their first event in San Francisco and met the CEO of Watson. And they had probably about, 150 people in the audience. And some of the preliminary things that they were able to do with Watson. And I wanted to bring that to the chat world. I really felt that automation was going to take over and replace people to a degree in that side. And I've followed it ever since. And when LLMs finally kind of tipped the scale with possibilities in 22, I saw this was the opportunity to help dealers kind of re-envision everything around their data. And that's the birth of QoreAI. The goal was to help dealers from the data up. AI to me is as a tool layer on top of your data.
Wow, that's a lot of history for a young guy. I don't think you don't look that old.
Not that young, man. Not that young.
Well, I got you beat by a few, but wow, that's quite an impressive history. So we've got a couple people on already. We have Larry Feldman. Good evening, Paul and Todd. Larry's a good buddy of mine out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I love Larry. Larry's a great guy. I read his book. It's a good book. So
he's an awesome guy. You ought to go see him play in his band sometime.
Oh, you didn't tell me about that. I'm supposed to get dinner with him when he's down here speaking in Tampa. I think he has an event coming up. So
yeah, and that he does. Keith Pavia, glad to be here. Thanks for joining. And Dave Foy. I've enjoyed many fine dining adventures together.
Yeah, I love Dave.
Dave.
He's a great guy.
Dave's another guy that's well into AI. And you know what's funny about AI is that it seems to be the latest buzzword. Everybody and his brother, sister, aunt, and uncle, everything's AI.
Yeah.
But as we were speaking moments earlier, not everything's AI. And a lot of people that claim to be experts at it are somewhat less than experts at it. So hopefully we can shed some light on some things here. I'm not sure if we're going to get through all of it, but some of the things we'd like to do is how to turn your dealership data into competitive advantage, why traditional CRMs and CDPs are no longer enough, real world strategies to fix broken marketing funnels, how to use AI to prioritize leads and engage smarter. Engage leads. Wow. I mean,
Novel idea.
I thought they just come in and buy on their own.
Yeah.
And the truth behind AI-driven customer experiences and how to use it to win. A lot of stuff we want to cover. Kyle Morissette, looking forward to a great conversation. Thank you. And Wayne Bridges, buzzwords is what I was thinking. Excited to learn more.
There we go.
Let's kick it off. How to turn your dealership data into a competitive advantage.
Okay.
Why data is the most underutilized asset in automotive retail. Give me some examples of dealership data sources that are often overlooked.
Yeah, so like when you think about dealer data, it's very like transactional in nature, right? You have a moment in time when a consumer buys a car, transaction, or services a car. So that transactional data is not really strategic data. It's a point in like the process. So I feel like dealers over time have collected data out of the transactional side. They store it, but then they never really leverage it proactively. When you think about it, you know, when you can take that transactional data, there's a lot of intelligence in it by itself. But then when you can couple that with what I call like augmented data, so like behavioral, psychodemographic data, that's where these things really come alive. And to me, that's where dealers need to head. So I look at this as the opportunity for a future, because the transactional data does tell a basic story. And when you have lots of transactional data, you can start to do and predict things. So I can give you a good example if that will help. So if you think about, okay, we'll take trade-ins for a moment. So right now, when you go and appraise your car, like at any store, you put a number on it. You really don't know the recon cost against it, right? So you kind of maybe do a guess. Maybe if the shop's super not busy, you can run the car into the back, they can put it up and just kind of do a guesstimate. But most of the time, what was expected versus what was actually booked, totally different. And cars get missed really often. So one thing you can do, we've been working on this, taking millions of repair orders, matching them up to, let's say a 2019 Chevy Tahoe with 70,000 miles. Out of all the repair orders of Chevy Tahoes 2019 with that mile range, this is what ends up on those RO tickets. So with that, and the great thing about AI today is you see the patterns. So we can cut through the noise to really understand, to say, okay, most likely this Tahoe in this range is going to need about $800 worth of service. So this will help, we think, a future when you're appraising cars. You could just literally put a VIN in and say, what is most likely the RO for that particular, range and vehicle. So I think that's that's one easy thing that you're doing with data. And I mean, there's many things we can do, but we see this world kind of unlocking, where right now a lot of this was gut feel, how we appraise cars. And we think that data tells a far more accurate story.
Well, it's funny. At the store level, most of what you're talking about, the data can do on a grand level. Most of what's done at the store level is by gut. Okay. A lot of times dealers are reluctant to take in off brands, even though they may be performing well in their market, but they don't have a lot of experience with it. But if they take in their own cars, for the most part, they have a pretty good idea. 3-year-old X requires this much in the shop. A 6-year-old requires that much in the shop. So that they do very well. But what I love about leveraging the data that goes outside of your box is that it now opens up a whole nother world of possibilities. Okay. There are two schools of thought on used cars. One school of thought, and I've seen this live over many years, is take the car in, put it on the line, see if we get any hits, and then determine whether or not we're going to put any money into it. Wrong choice, in my opinion. If you're going to go in, go all in. Okay, make the commitment, take the car in, recondition it, and within 48 hours, have it frontline ready. So by not having the data that you talk about or being able to leverage it, they're missing a huge opportunity, because there may be other models, so there are other models that are crushing it in the market, but because they don't have the data and they're kind of afraid of it, they are missing out on that. And that's significant amounts of money. And when you look at some of the challenges that are coming, we need to be hyper focused on what we're doing. We need to do it as well as possible, because what we have is customer expectations that have gone through the stratosphere. Right. And a market so competitive, you oftentimes don't get a second chance to swing at the bat.
Right.
So that's a beautiful example. Let me go to a couple of comments here. Dave Foy says the amount of data available in fixed ops is a retention competitive edge if you access and take action on it. No joke. Most don't. Kyle says, do you think adding this with an inspection with UV would give you even more edge on what the car will cost in recon? They have such a program that's built into, I believe, their software, where it estimates even things like body work and things like that.
Yeah, so UVI, I know, is looking at under the car, over the car, looking at the body, being able to predict damage and estimate, cost of that. So absolutely, I think we'll start seeing these things combined up, these different algorithms that are built that will just help us as kind of a co-pilot make better decisions in every vehicle we ultimately appraise. And then I think it's also taking in like real world data, like marketplace data. Well, I could look at history. How many of that similar vehicle have I had on the lot? How long did it take me to sell them? How many VDP views did that car get when I did have it? How many cars were in market at the time that I got those VDP views? How much did I discount it from price to sale? All those factors now, where we could not even do that mental math, all that can be taken, and AI is perfect for that. It is literally built to predict what happens next. I mean, that's what an LLM is. If you explain it at the most basic level, an LLM is only a system designed to predict the next letter, to predict the next word, predict the next sentence. And it's gotten there by indexing and crawling the entire, well, most of the known internet, and gathering all that information and understanding how we write in English and how we think. And because of that, an LLM is going to help us, to me, in our business, really predict what happens next. So,
Dave had a good point there. They think they're doing it well with their assessments, and they're really not.
Listen, they do it as best as they can today. The problem is, and this is what we're going to see, Paul, like you're going to see guys who make the change start putting AI as a co-pilot, and you're going to see them really pull ahead and start outperforming, and not by a little margin. Because the most interesting thing about building AI organizationally, it's not a linear effect. It's a compounding effect. And that's an important thing to consider, that you build these models and you keep stacking them on top of each other through time. You've compounded so far, competitors will have a very hard time catching you. And I think the smart dealers are going to look at their data as one, let's get it all organized. Let's get it what I call AI ready, vector the data, prepare the data, hygiene the data, fill in the holes, and make sure we have all our arms around all the dealership data that they can then start, to me, having the advantage over their competitors.
AI is a learning machine that gets better over time. It's almost scary how far we've come in a relatively short period of time. And the dealers that jump on the bandwagon early, their systems are developing at such a faster rate than others. There's a saying, we don't know what we don't know. The funny thing with AI is that AI knows what it doesn't know, because it's continually evolving.
It is, and I can give you a good example. So one of our engineers is an MIT rocket scientist. I know it sounds interesting. He has a double doctorate, super smart guy. And as we were working, yeah, I know, like seriously, like I'm okay in my meetings because I am the dumbest guy by far. Like when I sit at our table, I'm like, wow, these people are like that's the guy's a rocket scientist. He understands propulsion engineering. Like he can, he could have worked for SpaceX or Blue Origin, any company. He worked for NASA. But it's super interesting because he loves algorithms and we love Python, and which is really machine learning, right? That's what it's built on. Everyone uses Python for this stuff. But our challenge I set out for them was I really wanted to build a predictor to predict what car you would buy. So we have millions and millions of transactions. We have a very deep partnership with Equifax. So we have a huge understanding of 300 and some million people in the US, what they drive, what their credit is, debt, income. So we understand affordability, understand what's in their garage. And then we have all the dealer data too, right? So you have all, yeah. So like just think like big data things, right? And once we have all that, we wanted to ultimately build an algo that said, okay, I know Paul because he lives in this cohort, lives in this area, has driven these past vehicles. This is his family dynamic. This is who he is. This is his income, his affordability. This is most likely what he's going to purchase. So I set out and the team said, hey, we cracked the code. We did 1,000 records and basically this is called a regression test. So what happens is we look at people who bought cars, 1,000 of them, and we stripped out what they bought. And then we feed it into the machine and say, you predict what these people, based on all the other data we have, what they're going to buy. And it was over 76% accurate.
That's huge.
And wait, it gets crazier. So I was like, that's only 1,000 records. And they're like, my guys, so engineers our engineers are super smart and they're math guys. So they're like, you realize that's beyond the statistical. We could have done it with 100 people. We didn't need 1,000. I was like, well, I'm a crazy car guy. And I was like, I don't know. This can't be real to me. I was like, I don't know. So I pulled 100,000 records and I said, now match these. And they had already been tweaking the model slightly. So then it improved it to 79.84% accurate.
That's
for,
crazy.
wait, make, model, year, trim. So then I said, well, okay, well, what happens so we always get like make, model at 90-some%. We can infer what you'll buy, meaning sport utility, car, truck, convertible, whatever. Those almost 100%. The interesting one, which we still haven't figured out, which is year, because you have crossover years where you could buy a new 25 right now, but you could still buy a new 24 or 26. So the year is a harder one to estimate for us in the weighting, but the make, model is not. So we've got that down because we as humans believe our neocortex is making these decisions, but it's really our limbic brain that a lot of it. And when you can link all your behavioral patterns and then your transactional patterns, the LLM went to work like a machine and was very quick to tell us exactly what people were going to buy.
There are a lot of similarities between people, a lot more than people would like to give credit for. I want to get to a couple of comments. Ricky Lopez is too kind. He says, Paul, you're always the smartest guy in the room, but Todd will give you a good run for your money. I think I'm trying to catch up behind Todd. Todd's the smartest guy in the room here today. Right. Wow. Appreciate it, but no, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm learning. I'm a student of the game. Dave Foy says the gut feel will be exposed with the use of AI. Let's see here. Some are actually good at it, but AI takes in so many more data points that humans cannot. Yeah, and that's what you were just talking about. Yeah. There are so many things, so many facets in people's lives that open up opportunities that those people don't even know about. right? By having the data of a growing family, of the progression of things they've bought, of the progression of their financial status, their homeowner status, all of those things, by now knowing that there's a new baby that's come into the world. These are all things that these folks may not even realize what they're going to need as far as transportation is concerned. However, which is good, because that means they're not in the market, right? And the best person to do business with is somebody that's not in the market. If you can establish the value to them that they're not even aware of, they're going to think that you're some kind of freaking genius, right? Wow, I hadn't thought about that. But at that point, they're engaging in a two-way conversation. They're not, hey, I'm shopping you and 20 other people, right? So I'm a big fan of the data, and I'm becoming a student of AI. I've got a lot to learn, but I'm well on my way. Ricky Lopez says we've been using it for a while and we're way ahead of our competition, our competitors. Good for you, man. And Kyle says marketing is one of the biggest expenses in a dealership. How can we leverage this to reduce that cost and be more effective in selling more cars, labor hours, and parts? Well, I think you uncovered some of that just now.
Yeah, so here, let's break that one down. That's a good one. And Kyle, hopefully you'll appreciate this. So what do we do in fixed ops mostly? We just blanket market, right? Send it to our whole database. Let's get them in. Let's do oil changes. We need business. Right. Yeah, right? So as we do this, though, there's a cost. Every ad you run on Facebook or Google or direct mail piece or email campaign that has to be set up, all of that is time. And when you're hitting people in your database who are not in market, what happens? You're training them to ignore you. People don't think about that. We use this blanket marketing as almost like the crutch, right? Like we're using it as a safety blanket. We market everyone. We don't know. Well, the reality is we do now know. We can understand things. So for us, interesting things are like, okay, show me people who haven't been in 12 months, but before then were frequent, meaning 3 or more times per year, we would see them in the service drive. That to us, that's a low-hanging fruit. Now, is it the vehicle still in warranty or did it fall out of warranty? Because that makes an impact, right? We know that usually when your warranty expires, you see about a 70% drop that the consumer is going to go to their shade tree mechanic and bypass the dealership. So we understand that. So once that that inflection point is about to happen, those also are customers you should reach out to reestablish. They sell an extended service agreement, or maybe there's a prepaid maintenance to say, hey, your warranty's about to expire. We have a program for you that we want to put in front of you to help you, right? Obviously recalls, and I look at recall data. So recalls, the problem is I see a lot of times the person who's telling you about the recall is your service advisor, and you brought your car in for something else. And now the service advisor is like, hey, there's a recall. Can we do that too? And you may not have the part, or it's going to take longer. You inconvenience customers. So to me, like for us, we see all inbound service appointments and we run them and say, hey, these have recalls. You should call those people before they show up and say, hey, I know you're coming in tomorrow or next week. I noticed you have an open safety recall. Would you like to get that taken? Help the customer by delivering, as you, I think, pointed out right at the beginning of our conversation, Paul, is that experience.
Right.
Give them that experience. Put them and their time as the most valuable thing right up front. I think a lot of this, people, we just do everything from the hip shot.
Yeah.
And we build bad experiences. Customers are unhappy. We don't optimize money in the drive. And we see it all the time. So I think using data and AI, you can absolutely change the trajectory of what happens in your drive, in your bays, and ultimately in the entire service experience.
If we lay out a case of what's important to them, how they benefit proactively, anybody with even a 2-digit IQ can understand that, right? You'd be amazed how many stores you go into today where they don't even do the pre-work. The car shows up and they start to then look up some of the things, as opposed to telling them up front, hey, I know you're coming in. I just want to make you aware. And the words are important. A safety recall, safety, right?
And
Who doesn't care about safety?
AI does this, right? We can look at what will AI do right now. AI is built to, for me, I look at it as, I love to talk to dealers and say, show me something you do all the time that's super repetitive and consistent and you hate doing.
Yeah.
Show me that. And they're like, we have to call and confirm appointments. Cool. Let's figure out how to build an AI agent that just does that. And super easy, right? And you don't need a person. And a person's expense, right? Every time a person makes a call, you tell me it's probably at least $3 a call. So if you can start reducing your operational expenses by looking for tasks that nobody wants to do and are highly repetitive in the business, to me, those are the low-hanging fruit right now. And like we're doing one, I call it the. So we name all our projects any inner working ones. So there's one called the Emily project. Emily is a accounts payable person that does payroll for multi-stores. But it takes days to go in, calculate everyone's pay plan, pull the report out of dealer track, actually pull multiple reports, put it in an Excel spreadsheet. Then you have to go match it to the person's actual written pay plan. But look, this happens all day, every day. Across 18,000 stores, right? This is happening. So the Emily project, what we're working on now is say, okay, we'll go get the data out of dealer track. We already have the formulas. We already have the salespeople and what their pay plans are, and it'll be done in moments.
Yeah.
And those
accurately.
Right. And listen, you still want what we call human in the loop, right?
Sure.
So HI, like LT, like, so we still want that human in HITL, right? We still want the human in the loop to just put eyes on it before you submit it to like cash. But in the end, that human is there for a period of time. And human in the loop to me is super important. Just like, and I read an article years and years ago, Paul, about this. Elevator operators. Why did they exist? Because people were absolutely afraid to get in an elevator. They thought it would collapse. And it was a psychological move that if there's a human in it, it can't be that dangerous. So they put humans in there, and the humans push the buttons or pull the lever, right? And would move up in the floor. And then they also used them in department stores to say, oh, women's lingerie on floor 3 and home goods. Floor 4 is child stuff and whatever. But it ultimately, look, have you seen a hotel elevator operator in the last bit?
No, although what is creepy is, though, when you're in the elevator and you hear inside the elevator, welcome, Mr. Meyer, is everything to your liking? That's a little bit creepy.
Yeah. So
and fun fact about elevators is that they have in them spikes. So if the cable were to break, you're not going to come crashing to your death. The spikes are going to shoot into the side and prevent that from going down.
Right.
I did some work on a guy's house that was exactly that elevator.
So perfect example. But here's that point. We want the human in the loop today, just like the elevator operator. And through time, though, that human won't be there. But for now, they will. But if you think of a dealership, there are so many workflows that people just don't want to do. Like we could do lead management. And look, we've both been in this business a long time. We've been in the business since before the birth of internet leads. And from the birth of internet leads in 94 and in 95 with and back then they were faxed to you. You got a fax, and on the thermal faxes, I'd pull up a fax and I'd have a lead and I'd like call somebody. And it's so crazy because we sucked at lead management then. We sucked at lead management through the 2000s. We hated the leads.
Hated the leads.
We sucked at lead management through the 2010s. And guess what? We still suck at lead management. We still aren't replying to all leads, cherry pick them, call once, abandon it. And that lead costs $10, $20, $30, depends on the type of lead. So to me, I feel like those are processes that automation's going to kick in using AI. interact with the consumer. And if I have a profile view, I know what you're going to most likely buy. I know your financial affordability. I know what you've done with us in the past. So you're a good customer or you're a new customer. All those things can change the LLM to decide how to interact with you, right? Oh, you're a new customer. So let me sell the dealership and the value of doing business with us. You bought 4 cars with us. Hey, Paul, you're a great customer. I really want to thank you for doing business with us. And I see you were just in for service. I hope that was a great experience. Thank you so much for the opportunity for another car.
Automated. What we used to look up manually.
This is what's coming, right? And this is what's all like, we're right here. We're like at the bottom of the J curve for all of this.
Love it. Dave Foy says that is amazing. Imagine the savings in marketing dollars. You know, another thing is we talk about data, but how often is that data unclean data? And how many times are they sending multiple hard mail pieces to Bill, William, Willie, and God only knows who else at the same house?
Again, here I come with the fun stories. So we just took a good sized group. I'm going to let them remain anonymous only because I don't think I would want people to know this. But we took a big group. Yeah, exactly. We took a large group and they had a data lake, which many of the big groups have now put these data lakes into effect. And we kind of call them data swamps. They're just throwing a lot of data in it. So they said, hey, our data is clean. And we have somewhere in the range of, I think, 800,000 records. And our CTO and I were like, there's no way you have 800,000 records because we know the size of them. We know now from doing enough stores and groups about the average number of real customers they'll have per store. Okay. And depends on how long they own the dealership and the amount of data out of the DMS, all these things, right? So we run it. And obviously we have Equifax data. So we know we have deep data, right? But out of the 800,000+ people, 33,000, Dwayne, I'm not talking about you. So 33,000 people were deceased in their lists. So in their database of over 800,000. So you're talking 3%. They're no longer living. And it's not uncommon we see that. Or it's not uncommon we see that they no longer own the car. It's not uncommon. Email addresses. Email addresses have a rate of about 2.5% a month go bad. So about 30% a year. So think about your CRM, which is just garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right.
And think about how many bad sites. We were in one group's another very big group. They had 271,000 Luke Skywalkers.
Use the Force.
Luke Skywalker, not the Force is with you. The Force was not with their data. So, but it was super interesting. So I had to dig into that one. Me and Martin are like, why? What's this Luke Skywalker? So it was a service writer. They used some program. You had to put a name in to get to the next screen. And he just would put the same name in all the time. And this is that point where we see no real identity tools along the way to validate data. Anything can be put in. Because we've had to build all types of AI to clean data, meaning hey, think about most DMSs, everyone's on cap locked, right?
Right.
So all the names are just cap locked across. So if you send an email to him, it's like you're yelling at him. So we had to go in and normalize all that, right? Okay, names, .con instead of .com, a comma instead of a period. We just saw, and this'll, again, you'll love this. So we had, one of the groups we do business with. Again, it wasn't Dwayne on this one, but Dwayne's data is pretty good now. Now it's good. But one of the things which is super interesting, we trained it to look at names, look at email addresses, look at phone numbers, and what's called the syntax of those things, right? To fix. Yeah. So someone had forgot the decimal and put a $5.38 million Toyota Tundra instead of $53,000. Okay. So it was out there. Our system corrected it. Now, that's not the interesting part. Paul, we didn't train the system to correct the inventory.
It knew what it didn't know.
It knew what to go do. It said that's wrong because of other Tundras. We know what a Tundra should be in a range. That can't be right. And then it looked, and then it corrected it. So I think that's the beginning. Again, these systems take a lot of time and learning, and you're constantly correcting it with guardrails. But it's like everyone starts with a baby, and you got to grow your baby.
I'm looking for Sarah Connor. That's Skynet stuff today.
You know what? I just spoke at the National Attorneys, Automotive Group Attorneys Association in Naples. And I tell them about AI. I'm like, man, all the stuff that's coming and like our need for power globally, and like AI is going to chew up most of our power. And everyone's just gone before Congress, whether it's Schmidt, the old CEO of Google, Sam Altman, everyone has stepped up in front of the energy board. Like, we need more power and sustainable energy. But it was crazy. First question is like, is Terminator coming? I was like, we don't know. Like, nobody knows. And because there's pieces of this that are highly unpredictable. And anyone who says they'll tell you exactly how it works is an absolute liar. You can go to any Anthropic, OpenAI. You can go to the guys who are working on Grok. You can go to any lab across the country, on Google's campus, on Facebook's campus, on Amazon's campus, at MIT, Stanford, all of them. All these projects that are being worked on, there's an element, it's a black box. We don't know.
You know, I was going to go to sleep after this. I'm so excited about this conversation. I'm staying up. I'm doing 2 more AI modules after this.
As you should.
No way.
So, and thinking of that, so it was, I'll send you the actual white paper. It's a deep read, but the essence of it, put it in ChatGPT and just say summarize it. But the interesting thing of it, they sent the AI to do tasks. The AI, what's called forked, and started to do something else. And they asked the AI, hey, it looks like you're trying to do this. The AI lied. So it's actually something that's real, that's called in-app scheme, where it will actually create its own initiative that is outside the scope of what it's been programmed to do.
It also is. It also has inherent biases that you need to be aware of.
Because who programmed it, Paul?
What's that?
Who programmed it? We did. So the thing is, the whole idea of AI being unbiased is completely crazy because we coded it. We coded our language into it. It read human language on the internet. It's read everything from Reddit to Quora, take your pick, downloaded all of that. And it has learned from us and how we've coded it. So to think that these systems will not be biased is completely crazy.
Crazy.
Like, and nobody who's really working on it thinks this way. Everyone realizes, like, hey, our goal is to keep enough rail around it to protect. But again, we just don't know. And like what's happening in auto, to me, it's basic work still, right? But a lot can be like dealers, I believe, over the next couple of years are going to completely change. I think you're going to take this. I think you're going to see the $5 million plus payroll cut in half instantly.
Oh, without question.
Right. So that's profitability. I think they're going to be able to do far more, sell more with less, like, people and tooling. I think you're going to also see a collapse of all the SaaS tools. Average dealer uses probably 15 tools. I see that collapsing because
half of them, they don't know what they are.
Well, the real reality is, if you understand the difference between SaaS and AI, these are completely different things. And right now, many dealers and people are treating AI like it's a SaaS product. It is not a SaaS product. A SaaS product is a UX layer over a database. AI is really just a database with logic built on top of it. They are not the same animal. You have one that learns, changes, can adapt. You have another, it's just fixed. Like it's a process. So Dwayne brings up a good one, speaking about website visitor resolution and service scheduling and abandonment rate. So here's another good use case, right? We pixel websites. Pixels have been around a while, right? And being able to de-anonymize website visitors. Now, you can't do all, and states have different regulations and rules, and you can get some data in some states more in others. But you can now resolve somewhere between 40-50% of website visitors that I can say, oh, that is Paul. Paul lives in Connecticut. Here's Paul. Here's his address. I know who you are. So you can take that anonymous visitor, ID them, now say, oh, have the AI go look. Is that a customer of mine? Oh, it is.
What's the opportunity?
Well, it's a customer of mine. They're on my service scheduler page, but I don't see an appointment. That should auto-generate, send that to my BDC or somebody to call that person, because I could call up and say, hey, Paul, I see you haven't been in for a while. I wanted to see if there's anything I could do, if you need to schedule service or anything I could do to support your vehicle ownership experience. And you'll be like, wow, that's so serendipitous. Todd called me. How did he know? It's because the data tells us the story. Now, if they're not your customer and we see them do those things, you could put a Facebook ad in front of them. You could put a Google ad in front of them. You can do things like that, which are less. You're not going to call that guy. You're not going to call a stranger saying, hey, Paul, I saw you were on my website yesterday, and you probably didn't want to fill out that 17 step X time form that nobody wants to do, but the OEM makes me have it because it's an OEM certified program. So cool. Do you want to come in? And you would be like, click. Oh my God, I'm calling the police. How does this guy know my information?
Love it.
But this is the world we're heading. So we think you just have to be strategic. Yeah, you just have to be strategic in how to use this. So
I want to get to a couple of comments. I just want to make sure that we're on track because the time goes so fast on this show.
Listen, I know.
We've pretty much covered why traditional CRMs and CDPs are no longer enough. I believe we've covered the real world strategies to fix broken marketing funnels. I want to get to a couple of comments. Wayne Bridges, we need to remember this is a tool. My concern is it will turn into a crutch. Well said. I helped a tech with an alignment this week. He had all the numbers in the green, but it pulled to the left. That's because all the numbers were going that way because he didn't understand the angles. He just trusted the green.
Yeah, there you go.
Good point.
That's a
Michael
great one.
Larkin. Phase out third-party and first-party lead gen powered and built by an AN marketing system. No more want or need for the single shiny objects. And we established you were not talking about Dwayne, right?
I was not talking about Dwayne. Glad you're here, Dwayne. So Dwayne's one of our partners. We love Dwayne. So.
And he said with 800K, that's definitely not him.
Yep.
Dave Foy, on the other hand, he might have been watching the data because he feels that he believes that it is Dwayne.
Yeah.
Dave Foy says, how about extra opcodes? Dead, unused, duplicates, similar nonsense.
Yeah, I think we had to normalize to that, which is weird because, and then there's part of us, we haven't pushed anything back into the DMS, but we definitely had to normalize where people will use different opcodes and based on their familiarity with opcodes, right? Like, oh, this service advisor uses this one for oil changes. This one uses this one, which is wrong because no one goes in and cleans it up. And I think Dave knows more than anyone that dealers should periodically refresh their opcodes. It is a pain in the neck work, but it is vital to keep the data accurate and flowing and to ultimately create better understanding. Like even for dealers who are still living in reports, which I believe reports will also going to go away in a near field time. But dealers living in reports, if you have 6 opcodes for oil changes, yet you're only pulling 1 or 2 of them when you run the report, your data is always skewed. And that means you are making decisions on incomplete or wrong information. And it happens all the time inside stores. We see it. We see the data and we're like, that's not complete or that's not all of it. We see a lot of times, if I ran a report, show me all the Hondas in stock. Well, we have dealers that have logged Hondas as HO instead of Honda, right? So if you look for Honda, it will not show up in a typical, hey, go look for this field or this word. It won't find it. It finds HO or CT for Chevy truck. So again, we had to build all kinds of AI normalization, we call it, to kind of understand what was trying to be put in, because two different people who are stocking in new cars can do it differently.
Yeah.
And this is the human error factor. You have to account for it, because this allows garbage in, and then you need the scrubber to kind of clean it and then so we get it out that we're like, okay, we're at 98% accurate. That's good, right? Because just like as we talked about, even vehicle ownership, if we go into DMS today, 40% of the people in your DMS do not own those cars. So you're marking to wrong people. Like, I'll give you a good example. I got this mailer. My name is not Maurice, okay? This came to my address from a BMW store. This BMW store is 4 hours from my house in Naples, okay? I've never owned a BMW. How much did this cost to send it to me? $1 something, first class mail, 4-up postcard. This is coming from bad data right here. And I keep it as it's my souvenir and trophy I pull out. And nothing against that store. It's just this happens all the time across stores.
It's just one example. It happens across the board.
It just happened to come to the AI data guy's house, right? So I'm going to use it to be like, hey, poster child, you should fix this. So
yeah, no, but you're right. It is a massive problem across all brands across the country.
Yeah.
Jared Kalfas, great topic and guest. Paul Todd is an expert, and his domain knowledge is second to none.
Thanks, Jared. Appreciate that, my man. So
Jared's a good guy. I like.
He is a great guy. So
Dwayne says, "Oh, we thought you took care of this
about that one."
Yeah. And Kyle says he loves this story.
Yeah,
me too. It's very inspiring.
Listen, I love this stuff. I get so passionate about it because I feel like this is where we're at today, right? Like, our industry has been locked in a lot of the same stuff for a long time. The last 15 years, we keep bolting bad tech onto bad processes, and we're not making improvements. Like, I look at dealers. So let's think, Paul, back when we started, you a little before me even, right? But think back then, are dealers selling more cars with more tech?
No, it's the people.
Mostly no. And they still have tons of people. So tech didn't make them more efficient. Tech put processes in, yes, but it's processes half these people don't want to do or will divert from the process. Like, I was at a store like a week ago, and I'm talking to their number one sales guy, and I'm like, show me how you use a CRM. He goes, honestly, I really don't. It just it jacks up my process. So my assistant, he sells so many cars, he has an assistant. So he's like, my assistant kind of puts it in. I don't really go in there that much. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like poster child of like, so here your number one guy doesn't use it. So when he's eating lunch with the other guys, the green peas, and they're like, tell us about CRM. He's like, I don't really use it. You're saying, well, he's number one. He doesn't use it. Why should I use it?
Makes sense to me.
He sells the most cars. And it's those things where, and a lot of times, and back up to, I think the concept Wayne brought up, you can't just look at that process as like, that's the right thing. So think about follow-up. Salespeople divert follow-up, and that's why there's thousands of uncompleted
follow-up. They do zero follow-up.
Let's say like in the first 2 days, they're like, oh, I didn't get a hold of him, so I'm not going to call him. Or I text him, he didn't send anything back, so I'm not going to call him. Or I'm not emailing him. Why would I do that? No, it's crazy. And then young people are like, email? What are you talking about, email? I was with guys at Facebook. They don't even have email accounts. I'm like, what? They do, but they don't use it. Like, email's not the way they communicate. Like, they're communicating socially through TikTok or Facebook or Messenger or WhatsApp now. And I'm like, it's a different world. Like my wife, crazy to me. We're going to St. Thomas, and I'd never been to St. Thomas. So my wife literally is on TikTok. I don't have TikTok. She's literally like, oh, here, she built a whole itinerary where we're eating based on all of what the other people had been to St. Thomas did. I'm like, what? I was like, I was going to Google it, babe. She's like, no, I'm cool. Because they're showing the restaurant what they ate and the menu, and this was good and this wasn't. And like you do the same thing because I see all your food posts. It's like your deep dish
People
pizza.
go where I go because
Right.
I went there.
Right. And it's just crazy. Like for me, I don't know. I don't do a lot of social besides LinkedIn. So I'm kind of out of the loop for some
It's
of
a
it.
whole other world out there, man. It's a crazy one at that.
Yeah.
We only have a short time left. I want to
Sure.
kind of lump together how to use AI to prioritize leads and engage smarter, and the truth behind AI-driven customer experiences and how to use it to win. Lump those two together.
So let's talk about this. So traditional lead scoring in our industry has been around a while. So like David Metter at Mile One kind of was pioneering it with Polk back way in the day, if you remember, and other models had come out. The problem is I felt like all the traditional lead scoring models were static. So now with AI and prioritizing things, you can dynamically do it. So it's very interesting where we've built a model, a little over 0 to 1,000 score. Anything over about 750, they're going to buy inside a time frame. We did, and I can give you a good example of this, and then I'll tell you about the model. So we took a dealer group, had 1.6 million records. It resolved to about 650,000 real people. Once we resolved it, we said, right now you have 9,970 some that are in market. We said these people are going to buy. Within 3 weeks, 2,110 had bought cars from them already. And then we followed it over the next. So it was about 64% accurate and this was about a year ago. So the model is only improved for being able to ID people based on what they're doing behaviorally, what we see they've done transactionally, and build those models. Because again, we think we're snowflakes. We're pretty predictable creatures, and LLMs, that's what they do. They're very good at predicting. So we think in the world where we're heading is not just looking at prioritizing, but helping then the dealer say, hey, these are people in buy mode. These are people in shopping mode. These are people in still tire kicking very high mode, right? And then this will help you just kind of craft what you want to say to those people, right? Because your buyer, you don't want to hit the same as a shopper. The shopper's not coming in yet. You still got to sell them on, hey, let me understand a little bit more, Paul, what you're looking for. I saw a lead on an SUV, but what drew you to that? Like, are you looking for the room? Do you have children? Like, give me something. Versus, hey, Paul, when are you coming in to drive the SUV? And I think it's that understanding that if you can contextually understand them, it's a big difference. And to me, this is what's called like smart segmentation. Yeah, you're able to take your leads, build a segmenter, and go, oh, these are good ones. These are ones now. These are ones soon. These are ones later. And then build your prioritization around there. So to me, again, and then understanding like, is text, email, phone, what's the best like channel for these people? So you can, again, if you've had interactions with them before, you can base that off of previous interactions. Model is pretty quick to spin up, what to do. And hey, the phone call didn't work, so now try text. That didn't work, try this. And the models are designed to continue to learn, right? That engagement loop is by understanding consumers' behavior, by where they're at in the funnel, and ultimately best contact. Like some people are all text, some people are just email, some people want the phone call. Most depends on age, location, type of vehicle they're buying, where they're at in the process. So think about AI is taking all these dynamic contributing factors, and it's just like the computadora is working at super high speed and collapsing it into an output that says do X next. And I think that's what we want to get to, right, for these guys.
And I think the most simplistic way to explain it is that Imagine you're doing business with the world.
Yeah.
Everybody speaks a different language. Okay. This is interpreting everybody's language specifically tied to them speaking their language, but not using Google Translate, which doesn't get things correctly.
Right.
Okay. So you're able to, because each lead, each person needs to be spoken to or communicated with specific to how they want to be. And the technology exists today, which is even getting better, to be able to do that. Because like I said before, you don't often get a second chance at it. You can turn them off like that.
Yeah. So for us, we look at this as like personalization at scale without creepiness. That's kind of like a little motto we have, right? Because it's like you want to balance these AI insights we have, all this driven work, but with like empathy. Empathy is still incredibly important to me, I think, in the sales process, and relatability. And I think when you combine that like predictive personalization, it's got to feel like helpful. It's got to feel, it can't feel invasive. And if I know so much about you and I tell you all about you, you'll freak out. Like if I go, oh, Paul is X, his affordability is what he's going to buy, like you'll just scare people to death, right? And I don't think anybody wants that, right?
No.
But what dealers do want is better experiences and selling more cars. And I think a lot of it you can leave in the black box, right? Just create the communication, get it in front of the customer, let the salesperson do what they do best, and that's guide the customer through the physical experience of buying a car.
Because people still want that. They want to come into the store. They want to test drive the car.
Listen, I don't know. I bought one car without test driving, like one. I'll at least drive it, see if I like the seat. I've had people complain. I remember one lady, she's like, no, she's buying a brand new Tahoe. She's like, no, I don't like the seat. I'm like, so she drove another one. She goes, I like this one better. Same car. Like, I'm like,
I drove my new car in the parking lot. I didn't even take it on the roads. Yeah. I love the other one. I love this one too. Let's go.
Well, okay. If you're buying the same thing, yeah, of course. Right. So, it's wild, man. It's a wild world. We live in a wild industry. I love it. So
it's crazy. A couple last points before I go. Sure. Kyle says I used ChatGPT earlier to help me pick a cruise. I think a lot of people are using ChatGPT and other AI systems to make basic choices. Hey, I found my new Rowenta on Amazon. I told them what I wanted out of it. I said, find the best one that's in stock at Amazon, on Amazon now. It gave me the model number. I went and bought it 2 days later. It was at my house. Dwayne Sanders says the next discussion on AI in dealerships is how to take effective action with the data. Wait a minute. You mean we have data and now we have to take action on it?
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
Dwayne's a very smart man, so he knows what we're doing here. So.
And Dave Foy, great discussion. Thanks, Paul and Todd. And Todd, we have no time left, but in the no time we have left, I would like you just to leave us with final moments.
Final moments. I would say educate yourself around AI. It is going to change all our lives. It's going to change our children's lives. It is going to absolutely become pervasive in every piece of technology we touch. And it's the absolute, to me, most exciting time to be alive.
Hear, hear. Well said. Stay on for a moment after I log off here. Kyle says, awesome discussion, guys. Thank you. Thank you to those that watched it in real time.
Yeah.
And to those watching on the replay, thank you. If you see value in what we discussed here tonight, please, by all means, share it with your network. You might be able to help somebody. So, Todd, thank you so much for being on. Like I said, stay on for just a moment. And we wish you a safe and successful week coming up. We'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Thanks for watching.